Welcome to Powering Ahead by Her Money Talks. This is World Investor Week, a week dedicated for investor education and protection. This series of Powering Ahead is supported by BSE India and is intended towards encouraging financial conversations among women and families. In this series, we invite leaders from various walks of life to share their journey, give some tips, clear some myths, and to help our women audience to start their investment journey or fine tune their financial planning. Today, we have Ms. Aditi Kothari Desai, who needs no introduction. Ms. Kothari, the Director on Board, Head of Sales, Marketing and E-Business, DSP Investment Managers. A Harvard and Wharton graduate, she is also the Vice Chairperson of DSP Investment Managers Private Limited. A warm welcome, Ms. Aditi. It's a pleasure having you here with us today. Aditi, we know that you come from a background deep rooted in finance. So naturally, we will have that impression that it's been easier for you to excel in your career. So I want to ask you something different. Have you ever experienced rejections, fear, or anxiety in your career? It will be good if you can share an anecdote about the challenges you faced in your career.
My career, I think the first big hurdle for me was to convince my parents that I actually was serious about business and I wanted to be in this role. And I wanted to go abroad to study. They were not keen that I do my undergrad or my MBA outside the country, both of which I did. But it was a fight, especially in '94 when I went for my undergrad, to convince Indian parents to let a girl go alone. Was almost it was just a huge hump for me, and it caused a lot of stress and pain, I would say. But finally they said okay, so it was a great sense of success. But they said I could only go if I get into some top 3-4 colleges. Wharton was included, and they were not going to help me clearly because they didn't want me to go. And I got in, and I went, and they couldn't say no because actually it was my father. My mother still didn't want me to go. Promised and given his word, so I went. And then I worked for 2 years at Merrill, and in Merrill Lynch in New York. And I also did my investment banking at Merrill Lynch. Was it tough? It was really tough. It was grueling. If anyone's done in New York, like had worked on Wall Street in investment banking, sometimes they don't let you go home for 48 hours. Okay, or you just go home to freshen up and you come back, like to brush your teeth and change your clothes and you come back to work. Some people just kept it all in the office only. So you were almost tied to your desk, but the discipline and the level of detail that first job entailed in me, I think I took through many other jobs. And after that job, everything else was super easy. So did it feel tough? Yes, it was very tough. I did 2 summer interns also before that, but I was on the floor. So we had to get to work at 7 to 7:30, between 7 and 7:30 sharp. And that was in debt capital markets and equity capital markets. And that was also, that was like the beginning. And then you stay till around 6 and then you go home. But at least you got the evenings to yourself. Investment banking was different. So I'm just saying that it was tough, but there were many women. So you didn't feel different being a woman or anything, in the 90s. 80s would have been different, I think. And then I started working at DSP after that in 2000 when I came back. And frankly, things were tough because you think it's easy being the chairman's daughter, but it's not, because people are always skeptical. People are insecure. And then on top of that, you're a girl. So you got a lot of advice as to why aren't you just doing NGO work, and why don't you get more into philanthropy? Like, not taking me seriously that I actually want to do this as a career and not as a small job to experiment. So I would say that sort of stuff in the beginning to prove yourself. I'm only realizing it now, because when people ask me those questions at the beginning, I didn't know why, and it was coming from their biases. And then I went on to the asset management company and I went on to do my MBA. And I was always questioned as to, you know, I had people telling me that maybe because you've not done an MBA, you don't deserve to be here. And I done an undergrad in business from one of the best schools. So I had comments a lot of, well, you're not an MBA and you're not a CA. So what are you, sort of a thing. So I had to keep proving myself to tell people that I'm in this role, not because I'm my father's daughter. So I think there's always been something in me to prove people wrong. So it's like if my parents didn't think I could get into university on my own, I did it. And if people felt that, she doesn't have an MBA, so she's not good enough or whatever, I made sure I got an MBA and I made sure I went to Harvard to get it. Again, much against my parents' wishes, because they didn't want me to go sort of later, in my late 20s to do an MBA when I wasn't married. So, those sort of things I always sort of fought and did. So, yes, I think I went through those biases. When I came back also, I feel I didn't have a proper, a very structured job. I was doing things here and there till I became head of marketing. So that also became tough for me, being in the unique situation that I was. So it's easy to say it's easy for her, but actually, maybe it's not.
I can understand that. So, if I am right, first it was you have to prove that you can do it. And once you are into it, persistence is more important. And once you're back, being from the family, the expectations will be more on you. So, we have to keep up all this. These are the three stages, I guess.
And also, the culture was very different in the US and India. So, to actually be able to bring the best of what was in the US and not still expect people to be in India for 2 days chained to their desks without going home, and keep a balance in that, and keep your expectations such was important. But frankly, I was very impressed with the caliber of people when I came here.
Okay. So that's the next question I want to ask you. We have a lot of myths surrounding the cultural differences between India versus the West. So having educated abroad and with first-hand experience, how do you see this, especially when it comes to women managing their finances?
And where finances are concerned, of women managing money, I actually did a talk when I first started this, maybe 2012. Or 2013, where I brought in, a woman advisor from New York to talk about how women, deal with their money in New York City. And she says it's the same as it is in India or rest of the world, I would think, at least India, US, where women don't know what to do with their money if it's their own. They are very still dependent on their husbands or their fathers or their brothers. They don't have the confidence to manage their own money, and a lot of them don't care. And she said that living in New York City was very interesting because the divorce rate is very high, and women are usually married to wealthy people in New York City, and they get a packet of money in alimony, and they have no clue what to do. And some of them even blow it up, or so it's good that they come to her first, because she can plan their life then. So I did notice that, culturally, women and investing, there are similarities. India is not the only place where women are not confident.
Maybe in India, we are more emotional about finances. We think about our children and even our grandchildren, I guess.
But that, I would say, is men and women. So inheritance is something, and I feel the culture of giving to the next generation is very much more Indian than it is in the West. Of course, the West, there are different, people in the West as well. But on average, Indians think about giving to their children more than the West thinks of giving to their children. It all started back in 2011-12 when I had a friend of mine, and she is in the art world. And in fact, I gave an interview along with her And she, used to come to me saying, I want to invest here and there. And I didn't want to keep giving her advice, but, one on one. I said, you need a financial advisor. I got her a female financial advisor. She's very happy. And, she started her journey with investing now almost 12 years ago. And so she feels comfortable and secure and happy. And yet she makes her final decisions. I mean, she's in control of her money, and yet she has a trusted advisor. So it's not like she has to learn everything backwards and forwards. But, she's still in charge of her own money. There is no one else. And I think that makes women feel more financially independent and empowered from beginning to end, earning your money and taking charge of it and owning your money. So DSP starts. So that's how I started. Second, we realized that, we should do something more. I also had cousins who had come to me, divorced, again, alimony, helped them out, so that they can sort of, space out their life according to their salary and their alimony. I also then realized that there's so many women like that. So we started a website. We also started going to companies and talking to women, because they're salaried women, and we started saying, this is your money. You need to know what to do with it. And so now we've gone to over 200 companies, addressed maybe at least 20 to 30,000 women. And of course, then the men started saying, even we want this lesson. So we made people realize that just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're a beginner investor. Men also are learning. And don't think men know it all. They also need to learn. So you guys can both learn together. That made me think of starting a learn site. So we together put a learn site together, dspim.com/learn. And that has modules to say you're a beginner investor, intermediate, or a advanced investor. And beginners can be women or men. So therefore, I didn't want a separate learn site for women or men. I went to a co-ed school. I don't think women have to learn differently from men, because men also can be beginners. And women can be advanced. So, so we have that, and we keep adding videos to it to enhance the modules.
Completely agree with you on that, because
I could
you
go
don't
on.
need.
Sorry, I could go on, but I think
Sure.
this is how we started, and this is what we're doing, and we're still encouraging through media. And so thank you to you and to Her Money Talks, because this is part of the education and the movement that has to continue.
It's our pleasure to have you. And I have a question, because we are also doing this extensively. I mean, educating women, talking to them, encouraging them to have financial conversations. And in fact, the same approach we are taking, it's not just the women. We need to have the conversations with men also. They should sit together and have the conversation, because before you getting into marriage, what I feel is many times in India, the couples are not having the financial conversations. And later, when they start their journey together, a lot of problems are cropping up. So it's better to have an open conversation before you enter the married life. This is how we think. And similarly, we are doing a lot of programs in this field. Now, my question is, women always prefer a personalized approach when it comes to their financial advice. But today there are a lot of platforms, and naturally, it's not just women, actually, men are also confused about where to go, what to do, whom to listen to. Maybe this is the flip side of technology. So what do you think is a way we can tackle this?
I mean, first I would say go to my learn site and learn what is investing, because people go confused to a site without understanding investing. Okay, once you're confident about really knowing about investing, then maybe go to 2-3 sites and see where you feel comfortable. Make a small transaction in each of them. See where the flow is good, see where the reporting is good. And see where the site will teach you as you progress in your investment journey. There are sites now as true robo advisors, so they tell you what your asset allocation should be based on your risk profile. That is also a place to start. In fact, I would urge everyone, do not start investing till you know what your risk profile is, or your, they call it, investor personality is. Are you an aggressive investor? Are you a conservative investor? Are you a moderate investor? And accordingly, they'll suggest funds for you. So I would say take that approach, because it's very important that you don't just rush in. And I would say a woman, we've talked about this, needs to do it separately from her husband, separately from her father, separately from her brother, separately from her mother. Because even if the husband and wife are investing together, if it's their own money, they have two different risk profiles. Okay, so I may be conservative, my husband may be aggressive, or the other way around. So if it's your money and you want it, then you invest according to your risk profile, let him do what he wants. And maybe you have a joint pool of money where you all discuss it and you all fill in the risk profile together. So there should be three: mine, yours, us, and ours. So does that answer?
Sure. So in fact, 3 years before, when we started Harmony Talks, we had to push this concept of educating women about finances. But today I can see that women investors are turning savvier, but still there are a lot of changes required. So what, according to you, are the changes still required when it comes to women and managing their money?
I think it's a mindset. Women need to get confident. They need to realize that statistics say that there's a 90% probability at some point in your life you'll be managing your own money. Okay, at least that was in the US. Maybe in India it's a little different, because you'll always have your son or someone helping you, or that's in your mind. But think of it like that. So if you tell yourself this, you'll start educating yourself today. The other thing that is most important: why do we have this block? Why do we have this mindset? Why do we have this bias? So we as mothers have to start teaching our children. Tell the girls, when you grow up, you have to earn your own money. Be financially independent. Second, tell them, when you earn your own money, you have to learn how to invest it. What is investing, mama? And you have to start that conversation at a very young age, at a very basic level. Okay? And have that conversation with your son also. No one's saying, but I noticed that women don't have that conversation with daughters. Fathers don't have that conversation with daughters. Okay? It's mehu nana, that attitude. That is not the attitude. And the third thing that they need to do is educate their son and say, one day you'll be married and you will have a wife and you should let her be independent, right? And you should encourage her to be independent. And of course, if the mother herself is independent and they see it, then naturally that will come to them. And definitely the father should tell the daughter at the age of 18, beta, you're on your own. You have questions for me, I'm here to answer you, but you're on your own to make your final decision. And it's scary, but somewhere they have to just let their daughter swim. And maybe she doesn't have her own money at 18, so maybe at 21 or 22 when she gets her job. You can discuss it, they can guide her, but let her take the final decision. This is what I think, beta, but you press the final button. I will not get upset with you if you make mistakes, because it's your money.
I guess we need to make a lot of changes in that way. We need to tell the women also that you have to be financially independent, because we tell to our sons that you have to be independent, you have to take care of a family. But we never tell a woman, we never tell a daughter that you have to do it.
No.
So that's good. Yeah. So it is a fact that investment avenues like equity and mutual fund are still new to the underprivileged women in India. Maybe in the tier 1 cities, people are already doing it. But when it comes to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, or even the villages, it is completely new and people have a lot of myths around this. So what do you think? How can we do, or what can we do to spread awareness and encourage more women to invest in equity and mutual funds?
I think it's just, I mean, luckily you have platforms like YouTube, today, and I see all sorts of people on that platform, right? So we need to make sure that we have things in more local languages, encouraging women. We too are at fault. We do English and Hindi because that's really a larger audience. But we'd like to go, and we need partners to go even deeper into other languages and talk to women. I do feel that physically going is one thing, but you can't attain scale by going to villages. How many will you go to? How many people will come? So we have to do it through tech mediums and mass communication. And I think it'll happen over time. Even the government has done a lot to make women financially independent, this government, and a lot of subsidies, etc., go into the hands of the women. I can tell you, I work a lot in, with the forest departments and in conservation. And when they move a village out of the forest and they get compensated, it goes to the woman, not the man's account. Okay, so small things like that, I'm seeing the government doing, that it goes into the hands of the women. The money, if it is a family money, it goes into the hands of the women. And also encouraging women to open their bank accounts, right? And we have to, and honestly, I don't know if this is Maharashtra only, I've seen it there, or it is beyond Maharashtra also. We have to encourage our women to work in the villages also, because I notice, and I travel a lot in India, that Maharashtra women are working. You see them carrying things here and there. You see that in Rajasthan, but the other states I've seen that I don't see their women working. So first, that whole mindset of women can't work they have to get over that. Then when the money is there, then we come to the investment part for women. So I think in those villages, we are a little far away from it, but I think the government is doing a good job to encourage it. And we'll only see the effects of this 15, 20, 30 years later. But in tier 2, tier 3 cities, I think going into local languages is important. For us, what can we do from our part? I feel everyone has some staff coming home, right? So my staff, for example, I've made sure that they all have SIPs. So from their salaries, it should go, and we encourage them. We make them download the DSP app. They're proudly showing it to people that this is what they have. And I think we all can do our part by just educating what's around in your house first. Your children, your staff, and I think it goes from there.
So I guess it is like each one of us are responsible in spreading the word around in our society or in our circles.
Yes. How many of y'all have gone to your maids and said, what are you doing with your money? How many of y'all have gone to your hairdresser and said, what are you doing with your money? How many of y'all going to your pedicurist and manicurist and saying the same? I can go on, the list goes on, and I've really made an effort with all these people who are women to talk about it, to push them to do their KYC and to start. My yoga teacher, my work fitness trainer, and they're women pushing them.
It's like everyone can take that responsibility and think that small things can make a lot of differences. You don't do it big. Small steps can make a lot of difference.
And then they go around telling their friends.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference.
So now a little bit of technical question. So what will be your advice to women in certain specific situations of their life? Say, for example, making best use of their income, or say coping up with a medical situation, or maybe sometimes managing the inheritance, and of course, to plan your personal indulgences. So these kind of situations, how do women can plan a little better?
So I think when okay, let's talk about salaried women. Okay, a lot of women are working, and when they get their money, I think the first thing they should make sure is that do they have health insurance? Is their company providing it? If not, how can they get it for themselves, right? And if their company is not providing enough, how can you top up? So I feel today with hospital, admissions, etc., you need at least 5 to 7 lakhs of coverage in health insurance. So first thing, let's get your health insurance out of the way. Second of all, if you have no dependents, you don't need life insurance. Please don't get fooled by putting in money for life insurance where you don't have any dependents on your money, right? Because who will be the beneficiary then, right? So after that, I think you use the 50-30-20 rule. 20% you save, okay, which is then invested according to your risk profile. And it can go through an SIP. So every month you invest it, right, according to your risk profile, which has been determined before. 30% for all your fun and indulgences and movies and shopping and theater and whatever else we like to eating out. Don't stop yourself. 50% of it goes in your general eating, your general rent and groceries and your needs. Now, all these percentages change as you, make more money, right? You may not need 50% for your groceries and your rent as you go up the corporate ladder, or if you get a huge sum of inheritance. I would say if you're a working woman and you get a huge sum of inheritance, of course, you may use it because you don't have a house and you want to buy a house. Please do that. If not, I would say that should be put into your, according to your risk profile, invested. And then do the 50-30-20 rule on the money that you're making, which, as I said, 50 may go down to 40-30-10 also if you make a lot of money, right? Then you have more money to save. So maybe try to keep the indulgences at 30%, and the money that you save from your, the needs, because if your salary gets bigger, your needs is a finite number, put that into your savings. And you need it because one day you will have zero salary, and that is called retirement. And you're going to need all of this for your zero salary life. And another thing women need the money for, which is different from men, is when they take time out to have a baby. A lot of women want to take more than the 6 months, and they may not have a salary. And that's okay. It's personal. Also depends on the child. Depends on your emotions. It's nothing that anyone should judge. And you should have enough money for that so that you don't feel financially dependent on your husband at that time.
So many women, in fact, not just women, for men also, it's a very mechanical activity, this financial planning. It's like to your savings account, you get your salary, your banker will call you and tell, okay, I have this scheme, that scheme, okay, invest here, invest there. You automate that process and never think about it. That's what often happens. But these kind of specific situations where people don't know where to go, what to do, and what kind of decisions to be taken. And they get all kind of wrong advices, everything, and just put their money in somewhere which may or may not work for them.
Yeah, but I feel that, again, let the banker call you when he sees the money in your account is not the way to do it. It is first doing a risk profile, knowing what you have, starting your SIP. So you don't need someone to keep calling you every month because you are in control at every point, whether you're a male or a female, you should be in control. Do your risk profile to start with, and have a proper asset allocation from the beginning, and do your SIPs according to your asset allocation from day one. Exactly. And if you get a lump sum amount of money for your bonus, or you get a lump sum from inheritance or a gift or something, put it in that proportion of your asset allocation. And you can do it through STPs if you get a big lump sum, which means you put it in a liquid fund, and then that money goes in the proportion every month or every week. So you're not putting it all at once in case the markets are high.
Okay. Now, a personal question. How is your money conversations at your home?
So it depends. So the way we're set up is that my father was, very liberal, and when we were old enough, he just said, you have to manage your money on your own. I'm not going to do anything about it. If I give you a gift, great. If you want to blow it up, that's your problem. But don't come asking me ever for money. And otherwise, I earn my money and I invested it from the time I was earning it. So I think, in fact, whatever money I made when I worked in America, I didn't invest at the right time and it sat too long in cash. So that was a big mistake I made, I realized. And I wasn't as well versed because I was an investment banker, not into investment management at that time, that I didn't realize, I wasn't as well versed with how to manage money. And imagine how much that costs me today. So from day one, if someone had advised me, and I don't feel investor education, and also we didn't have the kind of platforms we have today. So I don't want women to make that mistake that I made with my first salary. But after that, because my father always threw us in the deep and let us swim, I learned. I learned sometimes the hard way by making mistakes. I learned sometimes, I had some luck, and I studied. And I have to say that these days I'm very grateful to our CEO, Mr. Kalpin Parekh. But must follow him on Twitter if you don't. He has taught me a lot, and a huge focus on how to invest and investment behavior and asset allocation, even more than which fund at which time is cool. So he doesn't believe in being cool. He believes in being disciplined, and he taught me a lot of that. So that's also helped. So I would say those are the conversations. My husband's also in the field of finance. So it's very easy to talk to him. We can have a lot of conversations. Sometimes it gets exhausting because you've just been through all of this at work, and you come home and you're like, okay, so where do you think gold is going? And oh my God, have you seen what's happening to the Dow tonight? Or oh my God, what happened to the NSE today? Or, have you seen the market? And, so it can get exhausting, but at the same time, I'm always in touch. Of course, 360 in every way and direction.
Oh, that's good to know. Now we can go for a quick rapid fire round.
Okay.
With short answers.
Okay.
So what men can learn from women about money management?
Patience.
What are the 3 things if done religiously by a woman will make her a sound investor?
Discipline, patience, and trust.
If Aditi is not a businesswoman, what you would love to be?
I would like to be like a wildlife conservationist, but in the field, or running my own travel lodge, a wildlife lodge.
Who is your role model in your life?
I would say Bill and Melinda Gates.
What's your favorite pastime?
My pastime would be reading and, just seeing short wildlife videos.
And lastly, what is your investment mantra for women?
Invest according to your risk profile and forget about it.
Okay. Okay, that's it. And one last question. Tell us, how do you see companies like us, like Her Money Talks, can make a difference in helping women to achieve financial freedom?
I feel you all are doing a great job. Continue to do this. Continue to have other women talk to your women audience on what they did and how it helped them. So today I'm doing it from a point of view of women in the field, but it'll be good even to have women who are investors themselves or who are not in the finance field and have done well with their investments and what all they achieved and their mistakes and their successes and what they can teach women and encourage other women just like them. And I think you all are doing great, because the more we talk about it, the more we make it a movement, the more we will see that the needle will move in the direction of women investors. I also want to say one last thing. I want to talk about something very unique to DSP, which is the Alimony calculator. We have that, or what is called a lifestyle calculator. I had a lot of friends who, were going through divorces and didn't know what alimony they should ask for or what is right. And this helps you. It helps you think through what all your expenses are. And the idea of this is that your lifestyle after marriage should not be different than your lifestyle before marriage. Okay, and you have to put your income in. If you're earning money, you have to put what is already in your bank account. You have to put if you have parental support. And then you have to put all your expenses. And then it calculates how much money you need today in alimony to make sure that your lifestyle is supported. We are not opining on what your lifestyle should or should not be. That is your problem. And and it is dependent on the woman to be honest as to what her lifestyle today is. So if she's taking, one vacation a year, she should not say she's taking 5 vacations a year, because obviously that will tilt everything. And she has to be honest with, what her income is, etc. So we're stressing on that, because sometimes it even shows up saying you don't really need alimony, you'll be fine. And sometimes and most of the time it tells you how much you're going to need. And I think, we haven't really advertised this that much. We've not talked about it. We got trolled a lot on Twitter because there were a lot of misogynistic groups out there. And so we've not talked about it as much as we should, but I don't want to shy away from it because it's helped a lot of women. And we have, without saying anything, we've had a lot of hits on our site, and women have been helped who are going through a divorce.
Okay, that's it. Anything else you want to add? Any specific
No, I think it's
questions?
fine. I think you've covered a lot. And
Okay.
I wish you all the best. I wish all the women who are watching this all the best. Take charge, own your money. Don't just earn your money.
Thank you so much for having here with us today and for your time. It was candid, and I really enjoyed talking, and I think we covered a lot. I hope it will help our audience in at least starting their journey, or at least if they are doing something, just fine tune their thinking or their approach towards financial planning. Thank you so much, Aditi.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.